9, 5, 0.
Welcome to the 950 Lounge Show, hosted by Kevin KP Pryor, the LeBron James of the radio game, the amazing Steph Pearl, the extremely hilarious Rodeo, Mike the moderator, and of course, Backstage Ed. You are listening to the best team in radio. And now I present the 950 Lounge.
We're back on the Ride 950 Lounge, still joined by the best team in radio, Mike the moderator in the box, Backstage Ed, Rodeo. Sitting in for our team today, sitting with us is the Mariano Rivera of 950, Mr. Troy Cannier, the thespian himself.
What's going on, family? How y'all doing, man?
And joining us today is a young lady who, like I said again, if you follow social media, you know who this person is. She's somebody taking it by storm. The lovely, super talented Miss Mia Dior.
Hey, y'all.
That's her. And our camera girl, Tony's here, shot by Tony P.
With the leopard on.
Pictures, yeah, she's got a day of sin ahead of her. But I wanted to talk to the team. Obviously, this has been a crazy month when it comes to just how things have come out, and obviously one of those things is the Joy Taylor situation at Fox Sports. Remember the story? Her former makeup artist is suing Fox, suing her and Skip Bayless. But it seems like the Joy Taylor thing got maybe more hits, maybe because Joy is attractive, maybe because it's just more salacious. And in the document,
salacious.
Yes, don't try to spell it. And the document, it mentioned about her sleeping with her supervisors or superiors, and it made me start to think about just regular corporate world. Now, this is nothing new, right? We understand people do things to get ahead.
Piece of change.
Oh, yeah, piece of change. And
Something strange for some change.
Yeah, good.
Rodeo do things, and again, I'm not here to be the moral compass, but I love to hear everybody's opinion just on the workforce. Now, the workforce has changed a lot because of remote work, so you're not necessarily always in the office. But thoughts on how the Joy Taylor thing plays in 2025 when it just comes to regular jobs. I'll start with you, Troy. Now, you're a comic, so even though, like I said, comedy is subjective, but your thoughts on just like how men and women coexist in the workforce, in this new era of workforce work?
Well, it's it's always been crazy back and forth. It's nothing new. So it's nothing new under the sun. But I think what happens now is since the Me Too movement and awareness and all this other stuff, and then you got a lot of women that walk around here with a masculine attitude and feel like they could do what men do, have been doing for years. So it does cause a different dynamic. It causes it makes it more sticky. No pun intended, but it makes the situation.
No pun taken.
Right. It makes the situation stickier because then it's a thing of, before it used to be a thing of, well, he harassed me. Now it could be a thing of, she harassed me. And then you got the element of, really, you want to tell on her? She says she want to do this, that. So you got that element there that's still there. So it's a sticky situation all the way around. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're good at your job, you're good at your job. Mm-hmm. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. You should be able to move forward and work. You know what I mean? If you're doing your job correctly. And other times it's like,
I'm sorry to laugh. You said if you're good at your job, you're good at your job.
I mean, but it's true. If you're good at your job,
if
you're
you
good
like
at
to
your
get
job.
on bended knees, you're good at it. Who am I to stop you?
I mean, that's the other side.
Let me go to you backstage. From a standpoint, again, I mean, I know most of your work hours are now done away from the office. So from a standpoint, taking now, maybe we all use Slack in different ways, Teams to communicate. Can that verbal through the chat be considered harassment? Where before you had that conversation about a water cooler. Now we're having it through text messaging.
Well, I just finished taking my sexual harassment stuff online already.
So it's fresh. Good.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It always can be, if it's an email, if it's on text message, if it's on voicemail, anything else is always considered harassment. Right. Especially if you're talking about somebody in any type of derogatory way or any other type of sexual way, it still can be considered that if the persons get to hear it and then want to make a complaint about it. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a little bit stupid to put that stuff online because now you're leaving evidence. Right. If you say something verbally out in the air, and it's now just considered hearsay. So when you're doing the way of how we got the work situation now, people are dumb. If you put it online, or you say, "Oh wow, she got a big butt," or "Wow, he looked like he got something," you're stupid. Don't do that, because it will come out.
Right.
Miss Mia Dior, obviously you made some corporate changes over the last couple of months, but from a standpoint of when you was heavy in it, had that ever happened to you? Obviously, anybody sees, Mia's. Your name like Mia Dior.
She not ugly. Bottom line, she not
Your
ugly.
moms ain't ugly.
She ain't ugly.
The name of Dior can't
Harassment.
be ugly.
She not ugly. But listen, what he just said. Harassment. You can't even give a compliment.
I just said
Harassment.
I just said her moms ain't ugly. I didn't say nothing else.
No, that's okay. Harassment.
just
But we
said it in
ain't
the
at
big
work
small-
right now.
I just
so you
said,
can say what
well,
you
this
want.
is work.
This
We
is
on
work.
LLC. But your thoughts on that, just from a standpoint, because again, you're somebody who's you worked in the music business, so I'm sure you've seen it up front, and you want to get into it. You can. It's a non-free lounge where people draw their information. But your thoughts on that, just from a standpoint of just having to deal with that, navigate as a woman, an attractive woman, how do you have to deal with that?
Well, I've been around for a little minute. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but I have seen the transition from like boots to ground to the digital age, and it's a real big shift. I want to say it was easier back then to, I guess, quote unquote, be sexually harassed. Obviously, being a human being of a certain caliber, you can imagine that it was coming from left and right.
Yeah.
But I was raised to present myself with my brain first. Pause. Don't go there. But I've always been taught to show my intellect first before they get to see the physical. So any room I've ever walked into, knowing that I'm walking into a lion's den, I've always been a little bit more masculine, but with enough femininity that I'm acceptable and palpable. You know what I mean? But to your question, I was sexually harassed by I want to say the VP of HR, which was a man in a financial sector. I won't say the company or anything
Please
like
don't,
that,
please
but
We'll just post it online later.
yeah, but my type of like clout, I guess, is not that type of clout.
Right.
So I handle everything, on a professional level.
Give them the professional, so to
Yeah.
think anything else, that's
crazy.
your own
Yeah.
man.
It's
And
unprofessional.
and from somebody that was so high up in HR and being a man, it was like, where do I go from here? So I
Right.
just literally removed myself from the situation because
Right.
it was a lot of locker room talk, my body, my face, the way I spoke, it was a lot of locker room talk. And I also understood I was in a male-based industry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nothing new to me, but when you're wearing a suit and tie, it's a little bit more like you need to control yourself. You know what I mean? So
Did it make you feel uncomfortable being around them after you heard certain things came from certain people? That you
Amazing man.
I wasn't surprised, but of course. And then again, it was someone who was my boss, like
Yes.
somebody all the way from the top down. Is like, who do I complain to about this? You know what I mean?
And you say he was
So-
a VP of HR?
Yeah.
And he's the
in
one you're supposed to come
HR.
see.
I'm supposed to
That's the nonsense. You see
This
that?
is
Yeah.
And see, the sad thing that's scary about that is that due to the fact that if she did had complained over him,
Right.
then she had to worry about retaliation.
That's
because
the
then
side
that's the
of it.
next thing. Even though
She
you're
would
not
have had to
supposed
go
have that
outside and
happen,
get a lawyer.
Right.
it's still
basically.
no, even
Yeah.
with the lawyer can't help you but
Yeah.
so much.
And because
that's
knowing
the
it was
thing.
a public company, I knew it was going to come out. And I'm like, that's not the type of attention that I
Yeah, you
want.
don't need that
and
energy. Right.
obviously, I know I do have my rights and I could go and do what I need to do. But I just personally just didn't want it. But how many other women out there feel the same way that I do? You know what I mean?
Suffer
So-
in silence.
But that's
Exactly.
what you just said. It. You said you didn't want to.
Right.
I ain't feel like you just made your point. Suffer in silence, because a lot of times people have been taught, well, just get along, go along, get along
Just
to go along. Just
smile,
smile. Don't worry about it. Ain't
yeah.
that big of a deal. But nah, that is a big deal, because
Yeah.
then what that does cause is mental stress. Mental health is a thing that's like, I don't want to say it's the big thing now. It's always been a thing,
Yeah.
but it's on the forefront of everybody's mind what we're speaking about. So it definitely does play a part. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
think it's with that whole thing, you just got to really
Yeah.
navigate your waters correctly and act
But
correct.
before you go,
Yeah.
see the thing that you all said, just like you say with that mental thing, you got to be very careful with that on certain people, because if you get them so stressed out, that's why we had so many workplace violence and
right,
stuff
right,
like that
right,
happened
right.
because
Exactly.
Let me go to the man of reason. I won't say the voice, so
Thank
the
you.
heavens. But Mike, moderator, your thoughts.
I think that. Hold on a minute. Go back there and come back to me.
Okay, we'll get there.
Well, I will say that I did walk away nicely. I'm not gonna say I walked away
you
from
was
this.
compensated.
Of course, because I was like, we could do this, so we could do this. You know.
Play it, play it.
So I didn't stay too long there because I was just like physically uncomfortable, and I just didn't feel safe.
Let me ask you. So he knew he did you wrong. That's why they.
Oh, he knew.
Oh, so he already knew. What
He already
was doing.
knew.
So he put it in the paperwork.
Yeah.
He was
From that
he was
quick.
like,
Get out of here!
I was like,
Be gone.
How you spell this? Just give it a D. Here's a D.
And here's a letter of recommendation. And anytime
That was
you
the
need
problem.
anything,
He was trying to give it a D. That's how he got in trouble in the first damn place. That was the problem.
It goes down in a D.
I'm just saying, that's what happened.
y'all be blessed.
Yeah, right.
Mike.
Again, we're here now. I think, moderator, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Please,
Had to
sir.
fix a few.
Elaborate.
Had to fix a few technical issues.
Yes, no
I
doubt.
think that you know what, life is about one thing: survival. Once you get here, it's survival. It's survival to the woman's body basically rejects a fetus the whole time of a pregnancy. So for a fetus to make it, it's survival. Sperm, millions of sperm attack one egg, only one of it makes. It's survival. You come out, what is your socioeconomic stance? It's survival, right? So as times get harder, as resources get thinner, then what people have to do for survival becomes more drastic. So survival on an emotional level might not be the same as survival on an economic level. And what is it that you're exactly trying to survive for? If you got low self-esteem, then your survival game is about trying to survive and be able to look at yourself in a certain way that's comfortable. Do you create a facade for yourself? Well, then survivability is trying to maintain that facade of yourself, which is really not you. So when you start to get into these workplaces and these issues in workplaces and what he, she, or them did together or separately, at the end of the day, 90% of the time, it's about climbing the ladder. Why do I want to climb the ladder? Well, because I want to go a little further up than where I am now. So no matter how you look at it or what the true moral stance of it is, it's about survival. What we're seeing is a case where folks don't put the survival knob on 100 when it's really not even necessary to go that hard. It's not like, well, I'm about to go over here and get this so that I can, break a little off for the rest of the team. Clearly, no pun intended. But at the same time, now it's like, yo, listen, if I'm going to climb this ladder, I'm going to do this. I want to be here. I want this power. It's not just survivability. It's greed mixed with survivability. So I've known men who've had sexual harassment claims levied on them that the person was really just going for bread because they didn't want to work here no more. Was it sexual harassment? Person will tell you no. I've known men that have turned around and done the same. So it's not like I'm pointing a finger at one particular gender. So I think that in the Joy Taylor case, you really have to be careful in the rooms that you hang out in. Because everybody that's in a room ain't there because they're welcomed. Everybody that's in a room ain't there because they're wanted there. Everybody that's in a room clearly ain't there because they earned the right to be there. But if I'm here, I'm going to do what I feel I need to do to not just be in this room, but I want to go over there. Like, right, you started in the mail room. Now you done did what you had to do to get upstairs to the front lobby. Now you've been in the front lobby. Now you want to get on the elevator and go to floor number 7. Now it's always something, and not necessarily in the gain of true progress, but more of the me without the regard for anything, not just anyone, anything. And I think that's kind of where you're at with a Joy Taylor, right? And that's without me even touching the ethnicity issue. You touch the ethnicity issue, well, you know what? I got news for people of ethnicity, particularly mine. Everywhere ain't meant for you to be. And 90% of the problems that we incur as black people is that we're trying to go places that weren't designed for us to be. I'm not talking about places that are there that we have the possibility to make it to. Listen close. I'm talking about places that we flat out got no business being. What did the interviewer say to Nelly when Nelly said, "Well, I ain't seen nothing wrong with ain't nobody ever invited me to the inauguration." And what did the interviewer say? Anybody who saw that interviewer said, "You ain't never been invited to a presidential inauguration?" He said, "Nah." He said, "Anybody invite you to a Klan rally?" And Nelly's like, "Yo, what you say?" He's like, "Yeah, did anybody invite you to a Klan rally?"
Right.
Klan rallies are actual events.
Yeah.
That don't mean we're meant to be there. You have to use some discernment and cut the greed, pay attention to what survivability really is, and come to realize every place ain't meant for you to go there.
But Mike, aren't you also talking about people having morals and standards for self? Because that's also what it boils down to. So the thing is this: Joy Taylor has the unfortunate circumstance of being a woman in a male-dominated industry, and you're not just a woman, you're a black woman. So you already got strikes on you. So therefore, just because, like you said, just because you're in that room don't necessarily mean you're invited in that room. You're wanted to be in that room. You need to be in that room. But since you're there, shouldn't you also carry yourself with the utmost? So doesn't that go back to
It does.
So before you answer that, Mike, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, hold that thought. We're going to give it right back to moderator. 9:50, where else you want to be? We're back on the Rod 950 Lounge, still joined by the team here, Troy Canier, Maya Dior. Troy, you had an interesting question for Mike before he went to break. Can you re-elaborate?
Yeah, because what Mike was talking about is like sometimes we're in rooms that we should be in, we shouldn't be in, and things of that nature. So like I said, in reference to Joy Taylor, she has the unfortunate, I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but the fact of the matter is she's a woman in a male-dominated industry, and she's a black woman. So in general, what you're talking about, isn't that more so a thing of decorum, self-respect, morality, and just knowing that what they do, you can't necessarily do?
It is.
Right.
It absolutely is. But the question becomes at that point, like, what, 99% of life is subjective. In reality, there's only two things in life that are not subjective, and that is life and death.
Right.
Everything in between is subjected to interpretation.
Right.
Right? So if you have a value on your morality, that is the floor and the ceiling, marketing, sales
Right.
thing, right? Old Kev, right? That is the floor and the ceiling of what you're willing to do. So where exactly is your floor? So I could look at Joy Taylor, right? Let me make sure I give the disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by this particular individual are not necessarily those of the entity that is 950 Media, therefore the 950 Lounge.
I don't have to do that for rodeo, but go ahead, Mike.
At least he's responsible. He already does it.
Right. Joy Taylor can turn around and say, since I am viewed, she might not feel this way, but since I am viewed as a checkbox. What do I mean by a checkbox? She's light enough that she's not dark. She's a woman. So as a checkbox, the good people in Bristol or Fox or whoever can say, we have a black woman on board. Right? So now, by her being in that position, I'm not saying that that's right or that's wrong. I'm just saying that to be fair, that's what it is.
Right.
Right? No disrespect intended on my behalf to anyone, but the reality is that's what it is.
Right.
You get shot in the hand, you may be a great person, but you're in the ER as a person who is shot in the hand. The dude who got shot in the hand. Ain't nothing else I'm not being disrespectful. You the dude who shot in the hand, right? Right. So she can be there and almost feel a sense of, if she takes stock of the room, empowerment. Where can my technical abilities get me? She's articulate. She's smart. Quote unquote, speaks well. Very good in the room. Knows how to swing topics and keep everybody in the realm kind of in line. She does that well. So your morality says that this is what I do well. And then there's that point where if you want to go through the fingerprint on the palm reader keypad to go into the other side, it's going to take more than just what morally you know you do well. Now you're going into another realm. For some people, that's the cap. I have an uncle that worked in a Fortune 500 confection manufacturer. I won't use a name. And he could have went higher in the business. He's the reason for many years you saw this particular product on the tables of all restaurants in the world, and his constituent was responsible for all the chains of stores in the world, right? So he could have went higher. He always used to say to me, he said, you know what? I can't go higher.
Right.
Because there are places that my morality will be compromised, and then I have to go to bed with that.
Rodeo, from a street perspective, right? When we talk about morality, right? You can go a litany of places. Is that very comparable to the corporate environment? Just obviously box a little bit prettier when you're wearing a shirt and tie than maybe when you're wearing a hoodie.
They always say the street corporate is very similar than the board corporate. The only difference is that the corporate world, they feel there's no backlash. Where the street world is going maybe a backlash. You make a wrong mistake. Yeah. A guy that owns a corporate 500 car, he makes a mistake. Oh, all right, it may have cost somebody $1 million or $1 billion, but it ain't all my money because I was elected. Where the guy in the streets make a problem, it costs him. It's his ass. You fired. You know what I'm saying? But it all stems from the same mentality: money, greed, and power. It's nothing different. And the thing is that some people, they get these positions and they see other people got higher positions. You know, they'll sometimes the average person will go and talk to them. Yo, how did you get here? What would I have to do, to get to your position? Or, you may have to go to school. You may have to, take on other job, show people that you're willing, to work. And you're willing to learn as you go up. But then you got some people, you know what I'm saying? They look, like you say, look around the room, they judge. Remember, you in rooms, people size you up. Yeah. Oh, okay, I think I can, if I walk over there, I think maybe I can, manipulate. Because it's a manipulation is the real game in politics, in corporate world, because that's what people do. They use what they can and use others to get ahead.
Let me go back to Maya. With your corporate experience, right? Mm-hmm. Being that you was going through this, right? And I don't know if that was your last job or how the sequence. But did you ever have to put yourself in a situation where, like, you're somebody, seen you like to dress, your style, you need to make it happen. Did you have to force a dress code in your mind because of what others might think or appease you, that they might not see you as the woman, the professional you are, more as the object that you don't want to be? Or is it a situation where you never thought about that? I'm just going to do what I do, and that's their hang up. How did you kind of balance that from your own internal?
Well, style is obviously subjective. But up until that point, the way I dressed in the corporate setting was never an issue. Right. So a part of that incident that happened, he straight up told me, I need you to dress differently.
So how was you dressing then? So it was
slacks, button-down shirt.
So he wanted you to go the opposite way.
No. He wanted me more
feminine,
more baggier, because I was becoming a distraction.
Oh my God!
Your curves were showing.
So let me understand.
Your curves were protruding to your clothing.
Yeah, you were dressed professionally.
I was dressed
professionally
in the slacks.
Right.
Sometimes a skirt.
So you being dressed professionally is what caused it. What was his issue? That's the thing.
My body.
Yeah.
Regardless, and my face and my body, and it wasn't only him. Again, there was a lot of locker room talk and stuff. Right. Oh, the new girl, have you seen her? Oh my God!
Let me ask you: was you the only female there?
Yes.
No, I wasn't. I was not.
So
I was not.
But you was the only one going through this.
But again, being a human being of a certain caliber, you could see, the difference. There was frumpy, and I'm sorry, that's
Say what it
Safe
is.
space.
there was frumpy, and then there was like I dress.
It was Maud, and then here come Dior.
And then-
Maud was a regular.
Then here come the
Get out of here, Maud.
I dress.
Like there's tap water, then there's Saratoga
Like,
water.
it's Maud. Here comes Maud. All right, Maud, thank you.
Here comes the blue bottle.
Then you got the blue bottle.
And here comes Dior.
Yeah, there's there's Walmart.
Right.
Like
We got it. We get it.
There's levels
I got
to
you.
this.
I got
Yeah,
you.
we get it.
You know what lawyer is gonna make sure that you win the case or not? If he's coming in and his jack is all the way down here, and his slacks are going
yeah.
over his shoes, and all, he's not
He
gonna
ain't
win the
dressed the
case.
part.
But the one that come in the Gucci suit,
Right.
tailored,
He's dressed the part.
you have a little bit more confidence in him. So it's like that was the difference. I was definitely not the only.
Oh wow.
Right.
That's different. That's different.
And these gentlemen were Caucasian.
Mostly yes.
Wow. So again, I mean, it goes to show that men in this situation, they built their own conclusion, because it wasn't like you was walking out there with booty shorts.
That's why I had to ask.
Right,
was
she
your
was in a
attire
suit.
But
yeah.
wait. But I do have I've only really experienced this. Music industry, obviously. But
No, that's for the next time. you come.
obviously, yeah. But like and I've only experienced this in the financial setting. I did work in another place where the female that was trying to hire me full time was like, if you dress a little bit more like
A little sexy.
Right.
a little, show just a little bit more. And I'm like, are you serious?
Wow.
They
It's
actually
like-
telling you how to dress in these interviews? That's
Yes.
right.
Well, how
That's
do you-
discrimination.
Well, how do you
Yes,
feel
tell me
as a
what
woman? How do you feel like knowing that unfortunately that's like, because I'm a girl dad. I got 3 daughters. So for me, I'm always curious. Is like how do you deal with that in this aspect of like you already know, no matter what you do, and then to get it from a woman telling you,
Oh, yeah.
come on, show a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how do you deal with that? How did that feel?
At the time, it was discouraging because like I've worked so hard. I've gone to school. I got my education. I've
Right.
climbed the corporate ladder the quote unquote right way. I've always put my morals ahead of everything.
Right.
And then just to be treated like,
Crap.
a
Piece of
tool,
meat.
like, just like
Yeah.
a piece
Yeah.
of meat. It's
Right,
like,
right.
okay, that was a real learning and growing moment. And at that point, I was like, it's like the start of a villain story. You know what I mean? It's like, now
I
this is an
understand. Right,
asset
right.
of mine. Like
Right,
now,
right.
if I'm really invested in something, I know that I can
Right.
utilize this tool.
Mama biscuits.
You know what I mean? But up until that point, it was like I felt like I had a little bit too much of an innocent mentality. Like, yeah, they're gonna see me
You ain't
for
gonna
who
try
I
to
am.
manipulate nobody.
Yeah,
right.
well,
Here
after
come
that, I was just
Biscuit.
like,
Some moist and
Never-
chewy.
From life. Here come Biscuit. Hey, Biscuit, where you going at,
But the
Biscuit?
fact that a woman was saying that, did that like was that?
oh,
did that piss
yeah,
you
I
off
definitely,
even more?
that definitely pissed me
Was
off.
she a
'cause I'm
lesbian?
like, no.
Well, again,
no.
that goes back to the Joy
But
Taylor thing.
yeah.
Right.
But I told you I was in this industry before it became digital. So
Right.
back then it was way easier to be like, you know what, you want to get ahead in this company, you should
Right.
show a little bit more,
Right.
cleavage. Just wear this color. This guy likes red lips or something like that, and you'll get more money, or you get, you
Right.
move faster. And I'm like, that's not me though, So you're calling me to like question my integrity and everything that I work
Because as
for.
fast as they give it to you, they can take it
Take
away
it
from
right
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have both examples,
Right.
both extremes, and it's like,
I
what
can
do
see
we
you.
do here?
Who are you? My name is Sophie.
Because the Joy Taylor situation is very similar to that, where it was like, well, allegedly,
Somebody was hired.
no, it was women saying, I won't read the definition you choose to. That was encouraging that, like, get along, play along to get along.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for this woman to say that, it's because she's part of the culture
Yep.
and she's accepted that culture, which is kind of sad.
Right,
See,
but you also got to keep in mind when you go that route, right? And some people should know when you're put in a position to make the most minimalistic, basic adjustment to something that is a standard, or you're not comfortable with legitimately upon first approach. Once you cross, you can't come back.
Nope.
Right.
There's no come back. There's no backpedaling. There's no. That's where stuff like
moonwalk.
black.
Accepted it.
That's
That's
where
it.
blackballing comes from.
Right,
And
right.
yo, listen, you did A. We know you're willing to do A. You're only here because you DA. Otherwise, your rabbit ass wouldn't be here. So therefore, because you now choose to try to go back, you go nowhere.
See, the thing as I look at also with that is that it's not enough fear of consequences.
Yep.
Because if you know that if you do A, B, and C, or somebody tells you A, B, and C, that they can lose their job, they can go to jail, and they can get fined. If that was really enhanced on being, pushed out there like that, I guarantee that woman would not said that to you.
Exactly.
Because they would have been gotten in that, and then also the HR person
Well, that's the
wouldn't have
norm.
done this.
Right.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, it's got to be consequences,
Yeah, but
and it
that's
has
eternity.
to, and it has to be pushed on, no matter who it is. Because if it's not,
But in that
Everything else.
situation, that somebody's gonna take a stand. Like Mia mentioned the previous company where they had the situation took a stand.
Right.
If you just go along with the program, like a lot of people unfortunately do, because the fear of retribution, the fear of I need this job, the fear of like I'm the outcast is the reason that
see, but
people.
that's the thing I'm talking
Right,
about.
yeah.
See, but the whole thing is, once again, it still goes back to what I said: the fear.
Right.
Like you
Right,
said, the fear.
right.
The fear. Don't be worried about the fear of getting outcast or anything else. Be in the fear that you're going to lose your job and then probably go to jail and probably get fined and lose your house
Right.
because you did what you
Let,
did.
let me ask on a lighter note. Did you go to the Christmas party?
Which
Go.
No, you know what it is? It's like
In the words
it's like
hold on, Troy, before we do
I
about that.
did
In
not.
the words of Benny Siegel, Beans from State Property, I would say either you get down or
Lay down.
lay down. What you going to do?
And with that, that's a nice way of putting a bow on this segment. We're going to continue to have a great conversation in Non-Free Lounge. We appreciate you joining us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here. Best Team in Radio is coming back. See you in a sec. What's going on, team? Best Team in Radio 950 Lounge with the fellas here today. What's happening, everyone?
Yeah,
What's going on? What's going on?
You know, when we do these segments, sometimes, we come in here and we record and we don't know what we're going to talk about, but Rodeo brought up an excellent point about pimping. I guess something he has a passion for.
The state of the world.
And, obviously, we laughed about it, but it brought up a certain conversation point about how, people look at pimping and how now pimping is something that people call each other pimp is a term of endearment when it wasn't always the case. I'll let you go, Rodeo, first, because you're the one that brought it up about your thoughts on the connotation of the word.
Well, the thing is that I feel today in society, we being pimped. We just being pimped in a different way. Anytime somebody can take a word and use it to their discretion, use it to their advantage, somebody always gonna have a problem with it. But you got why do women call their husband their man daddy? Where you think they got that from? Wasn't from calling their real daddy. It was from calling the pimp
But
daddy.
a real father here is doing it being called.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is that it's just a lot of things that back in the days that was, I'm not gonna say it really was accepted, but it was accepted in some cultures. It's now coming right back like a reverse type thing, and personally, some words it really doesn't bother me to hear. It's just how you use the word that bothers me.
Backstage, I know we have I know like obviously certain words and the vernacular you're not comfortable with, and I respect that. And obviously, and this is real talk. You being a good friend of mine, I've always tried to better myself, but even when you was wrong about stuff, like
Wrong.
it sounded right because Eddie said it. But from a standpoint of what he's saying, like that mentality, and obviously how people have utilized that word for glamour. Your thoughts
You
on
talking
that?
about pimping a pimp or something like that?
Right.
No, I mean I know what we was talking about off the scene, but not really much of that. That word never really bothered me or didn't really care that much. I know we talked one time before about black exploitation movies
Right.
and how it looked across other parts of the world when it's put out there on how much of the negative content that it puts on people that don't know the true story from within the states, outside of the states. And even some people across the states, that's the biggest thing that I look at. I mean, I had no
Do
problem.
you
with
like
the-
black exploitation?
I don't have a problem with some of the movies and everything else. I look at some of them, some of the stories and everything else was based upon what was going on back then and how
Correct.
it was. And I look at them like, okay, great, but it's not really one of my fan favorites to be looking at, to be honest with you.
Well, most of the black exploitation movie, they all had a theme that you was always going against the man, and the man was the white man. You know, from the Fred Williamson movies to Jim Brown, Pam Grier. You know, Isaac Hayes. I mean, you know, Dolomite. Everybody had a similar storyline that you was going against the man. And black people, we accepted that because we were in a battle of trying to get our independence from white people.
Well, I think again, if we look at those movies and we equate it to rap music, right? We say, hey, like the rappers at one point with the town criers, right? They would tell the story that maybe wasn't being put out on the even news, or maybe people didn't know. To your point, Ed, about when people see in different areas, well, the reality was at one time or another in a lot of these inner cities, that was the only game a black man could play, whether that was, you know, the numbers or the drug game or the pimp game. Again, so I think those storytellers were telling a story like, hey, this is real stuff happening in these communities.
See, I don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
My problem was, okay, we put the movies out,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is that when you put a lot of those out and nobody, and even when you put good stuff out,
Mm-hmm.
they always take the negative stuff and exploit and put it out there to exploit us,
Right.
to make us look like, oh, look at these black people, they know good, they do this, they do that, and all that thing. That was my thing I was saying.
Because let's take it from this standpoint. Let's take the Cosby Show, right? People looked at the Cosby Show and said, "Oh, that's not real." A black doctor, a lawyer wife, and kids. People laughed at that. That can't happen. So I'm just saying, is damn if you do, damn if you don't.
But with that same type of way that you're talking about, those are people that just didn't look at that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
That type of family can live in that fashion.
Right.
If you're so much conditioned into seeing what we cannot be, when somebody shows you what we can be, you just
Right.
don't believe.
But that's how I feel about the black exploitation films, because while it might have talked about the hustler, the pimp, there was a greater story there. It was a story of adversity, trying to overcome circumstances. A lot of these films, if we go back and we take Superfly, he was trying to get out the game. It was just the only game he could do instead of just being a janitor of some sort. It was the only game he could do. He tried to get out the game, and it was people that were perceived in regular society would be perceived as the good guys, were really the bad guys. So while I get it, the surface, like sometimes you eat, you have medicine, and medicine, it tastes bad going down, but it helps you internally. I think sometimes, and this is what I got, because I still watch these films today, and I mean, it's, we're talking about they're dated with clothes and technology, but to me, that tells a greater story, which I appreciate just as a black male. Monterey, I'd love to get your opinions.
I mean, I agree. However, the greater story doesn't line anyone's pockets. So what ends up happening in a lot of these cases is that, like most things in life, people see what they want to see, are told to see, or trained to see, right? So yes, the black exploitation films had some great hidden themes, greater adversity for the folks that couldn't get out but didn't go that way, the resilience to still, however, they call black exploitation films for a reason. And the exploitation part wasn't designed for the benefit or the well-being of said particular community. But at the same time, you have to look at it the other way around. If we're talking 1960s, if we're talking early 70s, probably up to about 78, right? If you wanted to be a black filmmaker or you wanted to be a black actor, that was it. When those things came around, that was it. If you were on Broadway, you had to be a janitor. You had to be anything less than a particular star. So I think that while there is a lot of greater good there, think of how they shot films on budgets and didn't have permits and
And a lot of those
Fred Williamson
Right.
mentioned that himself about, shooting something on Fifth Avenue and a black man in a nice suit with a red dot and nobody stopped him. They just let him
Rage
keep
in
walking.
Harlem. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was like walking down Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
And white people looking at him like, who is this? And they were getting out of his way too.
I don't know what I guess they had small cameras. I don't know what the camera was. I guess where the camera
I
was
mean,
at.
back then, when you shooting film, it's if you ain't had no money, you were shooting 16 millimeter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Or maybe even lower, right? So you're already behind the 8 ball because it's a low resolution film,
Right.
right? So but you took it to make it what it is. You think about what Melvin Van Peebles, and you
Yeah.
think about Gordon Parks,
Gordon Parks.
right? And you think about those individuals and people you never saw who would have never had a chance to do lighting or gaff or dolly or a vision board, storyboard. It's called storyboard. Didn't have a chance to storyboard or costume, or you think of all the people who had skills and talents that were utilized for those productions who would have otherwise never had the opportunity.
And look at the evolution, right? If we don't have a Gordon Parks, maybe we don't have a Reginald Hudlin, we don't have a Mervyn Van Peebles, maybe we don't have a Spike Lee. I look at today's game with, I call it the golden age of media. And I think we're living in the golden age. We're part of that. You look at some of these independent films on Tubi well, where do you think they got that from? That to me, that's blaxploitation 2.0. Now, as somebody older, and maybe I don't romanticize when I see, Blacktail 5 on Tubi. I'm just throwing out a name. I'm just making that up. I don't romanticize about those films, but those films are obviously getting viewership where Tubi's owned by Fox. So somebody's making money off this stuff because they're running commercials on it. So somebody's making money. So I look at that as like, hey, the blaxploitation stuff to some may have brought a nasty taste or a black eye. But I think, again, I look at, peeling the layers and seeing the positive. Go ahead.
But the thing is that if you wanted to be a black director, that was really the only door you can go in to do a black exploitation movie and get some kind of
Even
shine.
today, how many black directors
But
you got?
I think the only person that did not do a black exploitation was a director was Alex Haley with Roots. I think he
Alex was
changed.
different. Alex was a writer.
Yeah, but
And
he directed.
Right, but he didn't. But that wasn't his lane. By the time Alex Haley moved on from Roots, that was 76, 77. It was starting that was out of it because people have seen the big production shops have seen it can make money. Like when you really think about it, Shaft was not a blaxploitation movie. Shaft was made by Metro's Golden Mare. That was the Lion. That was not a blaxploitation film. Superfly that had a little bit, but that had still major money. Sig Shore, and I know this stuff because I researched it. They had some money in that. The Mac. When you talk about now blaxploitation, using the streets and having to have what's my man's name? The pimp that was in the film, Frank Mitchell, I think his name was. In the Mac.
Yeah,
the light-skinned-
he the one that paid
right for
put money
protection,
up.
then got
Yeah.
killed like right before the movie was released. So, again,
Frank Ward.
thank you for Frank. Yeah. So it's certain layers to this stuff. I mean, Uptown Saturday Night, let's do it again. A piece of action. We're not.
No, that was.
But they had the Calvin Lockharts. You had the Harry Belafonte. You had people who played in those roles. I think one of the greatest actors of all time that doesn't get talked about is Calvin Lockhart. And he's a guy, and if you follow his story, guys that couldn't get roles. And I think he was a brilliant actor, had the look, had the style, had the swag. Same thing with Ron O'Neal. Ron O'Neal, before he died, was very bitter on how the industry treated him because, they wanted to stereotype him as Priest. Even to an extent, even though it wasn't a blaxploitation film, but in the era, Richard Roundtree. I mean, how many times he had to play Shaft? I mean, and Richard Roundtree, rest in peace, from New Rochelle, New York, not too far from here, was a brilliant actor. But because they wanted to typecast
You get typecast, you get locked down.
Right, exactly. So I just think that obviously when we look at today's world and today's independent films, and even today's independent shows like us. I mean, I think those are byproducts and improvements from our ancestors of yesteryear.
Yeah, nah, like I said, I mean, I agree with y'all. I mean, like for acting to get out and everything else, nobody's ever thinking what's going to be used against them or anything else in the future. You're just trying to get yourself, trying to get paid, trying to get your name out, which is understandable. And nobody ever really looks at that, 500 or 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later.
Just trying to eat.
Yeah, you're just trying to eat. So that's never a problem with that. Because if you think about it, it even goes back into the 20s and the 30s when they had like Bojangles and all those other ones out there that did their movies and shows or even radio back then. So, it's just depending on if you're going to get caught up into a box or you're going to try to branch out to do something to show something different.
Yeah. And again, you kind of mentioning about the Hattie McDaniels in those old days. That's where the black exploitation movement came about, because those young film producers and directors that couldn't get those shots, they wanted to show a different side. They want to show a more defiant side, a more edgier side. They didn't just want to be like, oh, here come Massa. They didn't want that.
No,
So
they had some shows and stuff back then, because a lot of this stuff back then was like more Broadway productions. So you had a lot of them doing Broadway productions, like with the dancing, the move, and it was some good shows like that, because I did watch a couple of them. But it's just that when you look later on, he's like saying, wow, that was a great show. Wish they would have got the bigger budget so everybody can see it more, but it is what it is,
Yeah, no question. I just think that obviously I celebrate that era.
Oh, the
because-
Pimps?
Well, I just
It's a celebration.
We talking about as in acting and everything else, not
That is acting.
well. But we were talking about Willie Dynamite, right? And before we went on air, and you were talking about how Willie Dynamite was Gordon from Sesame Street, right?
Yeah, he was.
But Willie was. That's not his name. Name. I forgot what the brother's real name is. But he was presenting himself a role. But again, like I'm saying, it's like I look at those and I look at it from a celebration standpoint, because it's about independence. It couldn't have been easy to put those films out or to get budgets for those films or try to talk actors into working for peanuts. And like even some of the guys we rock with, like the Juan Flores Sal's and stuff, who joke, but it was real, about paying his first actors in chicken and marijuana. That's a real thing. So obviously, again, the evolution, what's my man, Chuck Dunkins, these people we know, the evolution of that era, it has to be inspiring.
struggle is real.
Right. So again, like I said, sometimes I got to check myself, because I look at some of these films and I go like, damn, can they talk about anything else? And I have to realize that, well, maybe it's all they know, but I have to check myself, because I'm like, they just talk about something else. But
I feel that we just live in the same society that was done in the 70s. Now it's just 2.0. It's more out there than in back rooms and stuff like that. Like, it was after hour spots. They turned after hour spots now into lounges. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
The numbers into OTB.
Yeah, no, into the lottery.
Right,
you know, that's the thing. So everything,
horses,
but everything was behind
marijuana
closed doors.
Illegal.
Yeah, everything was behind closed doors, but now it's all out there. So it's basically you still
movies are mainstream.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's nothing different.
Right, but any event, we appreciate you tuning in today. Best Team in Radio got a great show. It's 9 Feet Lounge. Where else you want to be?